Show. Let's get back to DJ and Thrift on Sports Visions 92.1.
Welcome back to the Sports Visions Morning Show. DJ Jones and Richard Holdridge in the building. Big shout out. It's a memorable Monday. And, of course, I want to thank Rachel Barbeau with all the great things that she's got going on. Britson Buckner, man, I tell you, what can we say? And Mike Peacock, thank you so much for waking up with us on the Sports Visions Morning Show. Right now, we have a young lady that Again, she's a legend in her own right, and I'm pleased to introduce Coach Forrest. I want to bring you on because I want you to tell me how to pronounce your first name.
It's Daynia.
Daynia. Good morning.
There you go. Good job. Good morning. Good morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please welcome Daynia LaForce. Man, I tell you, I was been butchering your name all morning, man. I just about like I did.
I've been called worse.
well, so glad to have you here. And I tell you what, it is the day. It's the WNBA draft, and I know you have been around for a few of them. And for the folks out there that don't have an idea, maybe they know the NFL draft. They maybe they know the Major League Baseball draft, but the WNBA draft. What's different in your opinion of the NBA draft or WNBA draft?
It's just it's different because it's just an opportunity for our women in the professional game of women's basketball to be celebrated. It's the cream of the crop. The top athletes in the college women's basketball game are all gathered together to get an opportunity to have a life-changing experience and take that game to a whole new level.
Coach, you actually coached with the Atlanta Dream once upon a time, and again, that culture is so much more different now. And of course, they bringing in Angel Reese, and I know you've heard about that. But what will Angel Reese do for the Atlanta Dream, you think?
Yeah, I mean, she just has such a great presence, such a great following. And, wherever she goes, her fans will follow. And I think it's going to bring the Atlanta Dream has already had great attendance. That is just one of the things in Atlanta that the people there love to celebrate. They're very passionate about their sports from all their major professional teams. So I think in addition to the support they've had over the past couple of years, this is only going to elevate the game and spread it among people who are followers of Angel. They might even need to move to a bigger arena, to be honest, because it's just going to continue to allow that city to thrive in another sports venue, besides the football and, the Atlanta Hawks. Now is going to give the Atlanta Dream an opportunity to really have a name and an opportunity all by themselves. So I'm very proud of that organization. They've been working very hard to build their fan base and to build a great product on the court for their fans. And Angel's just going to be the icing on the cake for that city.
Coach, you've done some incredible things in your life to include coaching in the WNBA, but obviously you played for the Georgetown Hoyas on a Big East champion. And again, but you just had in what you're doing now in the community to help other coaches. It's phenomenal. But let's do this. What we'd like to do on the Sports Vision Morning Show is we want to make sure that our listening audience have an opportunity to know where you came from. So in your own words, can you go ahead and give us a little description of your bio of what, where you came from, who poured into you, and what led you to be the woman that you are today?
Sure, great. Yeah, I'm not from the United States. I was born actually in the Caribbean in St. Lucia. Came to United States at a very, very young age, and my mom poured into me to take advantage of every opportunity that's presented to me. And she knew the pathway to success was a great education. So she instilled on me really being diligent in the classroom and maintaining good grades throughout my early time in the United States. And, it took me to an opportunity where I received a scholarship to Georgetown University. It was an athletic scholarship, but however, I still needed to have great grades to get into college, especially a university like Georgetown. So I was very honored to play for the Hoyas for 4 years. We were 1993 co-Big East champions during that time. A name that you guys probably will be familiar with that I played against was Rebecca Lobo from UConn. We were one of the last teams to ever beat UConn. And this was, we're talking about, years ago, but we were one of the few teams to beat them at Gamble Pavilion, while we were a member of the Georgetown Women, the Hoyas. But it was just a phenomenal time for women's basketball. UConn was really putting women's basketball on the map at that time. They had a couple of undefeated seasons early in the 90s. And, we were just riding that wave of the UConn women's basketball team. And today, they've continued to have that success and continue to be the poster child for women's basketball at the collegiate level. From there, I went straight into coaching, graduated college and went straight into coaching. Was something I was very passionate about, something I was very, excited to explore at a young age. So I started coaching at Long Island University, Brooklyn campus, right downtown Brooklyn. And I was a graduate assistant coach, a restricted earners coach at the time, and then became a full-time assistant coach there. That journey took me from Long Island University to St. John's University, where I was an assistant coach with Kim Barnes-Rico, who's now the head coach at Michigan and doing a phenomenal job there. Coached at St. John's for 3 seasons, and then I finally got my opportunity to be a head coach at the University of Connecticut. University of New Haven in Connecticut. That was my first head coaching job. Did a great job there, got coach of the year. Just really love working with the young women, really love being a role model to them, really love giving them an opportunity to not only get a great education, a free education at the time, giving out scholarships, but also to just grow their game, grow their sport, and really be passionate about something and really take them to heights they never thought that they would go to. That's the beauty of coaching. You really can pour into young women and make them dream and believe that they can be better both on and off the court. Coaching for me I was very passionate about it. I saw the value in it. I saw the impact I had in young women's lives. And, I was part of their village, and that was what I experienced as a young child. People were part of my village growing up. It wasn't just my mom. It was other people that were really there and present in my life to give me motivation, to give me encouragement, to really be role models for me, to show me how to believe and how to act. And that's what I thought coaching was at a very young age, my opportunity to be part of these young women's, be part of their village. So my first head coaching job, like I said, was at University of New Haven. From there, I went on to Northeastern University in Boston, where I was the head coach of Northeastern University for 8 years, I believe. And during that time, we won the CAA, and I also got Coach of the Year there as well. But again, an opportunity to really impact young lives and grow the game of women's basketball. And at the time, there was no real dream of playing at the professional level unless you wanted to go overseas. And, we knew at that time women's basketball was just an opportunity to, one, grow your game, and two, get a great education. People were not thinking about going overseas or playing basketball at a professional level. So, it was just a matter of making sure these young women grew as great athletes and as great people. That was simply my goal of being a head coach at the time. From there, I went to the University of Rhode Island, where I was a head coach for 5 seasons. I was the first African-American head coach, female head coach for that university. I had a great time directing the young women in the A10, which was a very, very great conference. My co-partner or co-coach was Dan Hurley. He was coaching the men and I was coaching the women. And now we see where Dan Hurley went on to be for the University of Connecticut. But just an opportunity to really use my platform as being a coach to be an exceptional role model for young women. I say that over and over because it wasn't about the wins and losses. I couldn't even tell you any of my records that I've had during my time coaching as a head coach, but I could tell you the impact I've made in the lives of these young women when they call me back and say, Coach, how are you? Can you come to my wedding? Can you be the godmother of my child? Coach, you meant so much to me. Coach, I'm sorry. I know what you were trying to tell me now. Now I know as I'm adult. Now I see what you're trying to do. There's just a lot of moments where I get fulfilled knowing that the sacrifices that I made to be there for these young women was very important. And I say sacrifices because I had 2 young boys. I had Martin and Terance. Terance is now in his 7th year in the NBA with the Brooklyn Nets. And Martin is working with our foundation as well. A master's student, two great young men in my life. But I sacrificed a lot of time away from my kids to raise other people's children and be there for them in so many ways. I said coaching has little to do with X's and O's and more to do with just being a role model, a mentor, a friend, sometimes a psychologist. It really had not a lot to do with the X's and O's, but I'm very grateful for my opportunity to be a coach and really pour back into the lives of these young women. I've transitioned out of coaching but I'm still in a position where I'm impacting lives and really giving people opportunity and having them see more and believe more without the record and without the ads and without the stress of the parents. But I'm still doing what I love to do, what I'm called to do. So thank you for this opportunity.
Coach, with the WNBA approaching its 30th season next year, we have seen so much growth, but this league started out great with the Houston Comets winning the first 4
Hmm.
championships, and then the Comets went
Hmm.
away. But they are coming back in 2027 as the
Yes.
Connecticut Sun
Yes.
is being bought out. And then so we're going to get that. We got a couple more expansion teams now with the Toronto Tempo, the Portland
Hmm.
Fire. How important is it for these markets to actually get a WNBA team? Because we know that they are good NBA markets, but that fan
Hmm.
base can also be there to support the WNBA teams, especially with the growth and the development in the last couple of years.
Yeah, and I think the reason for that growth and development has a lot to do with the NIL and the opportunity for these college athletes to have a personality, to have a presence, to have a following because they're on commercials. They're doing different things within their own college community. Now people are following them. So when they move on to the professional world, they have a fan base. And that's why I think the WNBA fan base has grown so much, is because now you're taking college athletes who people are familiar with, they've seen on TV. They know them more than just a basketball player. So I think for those markets, it's very important. There are a lot of players who got left behind when there were only a handful of WNBA teams. A lot of players got cut that were phenomenal players, but you could only carry a certain amount, 12 to 13 on your roster. So I think this expansion will allow those other players who are great, great basketball players and can bring really a great following and fun to the game of women's basketball. Now they have a place that they could go with these 3 expansion teams. So it's going to incorporate more players who didn't get an opportunity to make a roster. Now they'll be able to have an opportunity in communities that are already excited about their sports teams. Toronto, and like you said, the Connecticut Sun now moving to Houston. I'm sure there are a lot of people there who remember the Rockets team and the greats that played for them. So I just think it's great for the markets that really have a strong fan base in terms of following the professional teams to take on a women's basketball, a WNBA team, and have that continue and tap in over and pour into the women's side of professional sports. It's a no-brainer, and I'm happy that the league did agree to this expansion. I'm happy for the young women who were cut from certain rosters because they just couldn't carry more than 12 to 13 players. I'm excited for those players. I know a lot of them, even some that I saw at the Atlanta Dream, some that I saw when I worked a little bit with the Connecticut Sun, some who just had to be cut because there was just no room, but now they found a home. So I'm happy about that.
Daynia LaForce is our guest this morning on the Sports Visions morning show. And Coach, when we talk about all the wonderful accomplishments that you've had in the sports, from playing into coaching, people often, talk about the players and talk about what it takes for the coaches, or at least for the players. But when the coaches need coaching, what is I think that you're working with an organization now that's an advocate of that.
Yes, I mean, I do several things to help, coaches, and not only coaches, but just also parents or mothers of NBA players and WNBA players. I think one of my main platforms is Courtside Moms Media, where I have a podcast, A Moment for Moms, and we interview the NBA and WNBA moms just to allow them to tell their story of how they raise such great athletes. And a lot of times in the NBA, as you guys know, these guys are just seen as machines, and they are supposed to come out night in and night out and give you 20 and 10. But sometimes that's not the case. And there's a lot of backlash that these guys receive through social media. Now they have the sports betting, and it's not really fun for them anymore because people are coming at them. So we want to give the moms an opportunity to tell their side of the story and humanize their sons and daughters in this professional world. It's very difficult. So I give moms an opportunity to share their stories, to talk about who they are, how they were able to develop such great athletes, what kind of influence did they have in the lives of their athletes. I think it's very important for fans to hear that side of the story. And the other thing is, obviously, through my foundation, I was able to help students get a great education in private and independent boarding school systems. As you know, that price tag is very expensive. So
Yes.
our foundation, led by Terance, we give academic scholarships to students who are a little bit short on the tuition and give them an opportunity to get a great academic experience to really grow. We've had camps and clinics all across the United States, in every market that Terrence has been in, every place that's touched him. He goes back and he, teaches the game of basketball, but also brings private and independent boarding schools to the kids and the campers so that they could find out about that unique academic experience. We bring in local coaches in those areas, give them an opportunity to impact the kids. I'm very big in giving back, and I've been doing it for 26 years of my coaching career, and my son has seen me grow and develop so many positive citizens in the country, in the world, just by being a coach and being there and using my platform. And he does the same now that he's at the NBA level. He wants to reach back. He wants to give back because he realized that there were a lot of people that influenced him and was a part of his village. So I'm happy he's being responsible with this platform and not just sitting there, collecting a an NBA check, but he's also giving back and really supporting the communities that has touched his life.
Yeah, this is a very special time, especially in a month span with the conclusion of college basketball, the WNBA draft tonight, and then the start of the WNBA season, that we get invested in these college basketball players and we follow them into the WNBA. But you talk about this women's college basketball all together. We know about the dominance of UConn and South Carolina, and that's one way to win. Those I would consider blue bloods in women's college basketball. But then Kim Mulkey ends up getting a championship with a bunch of players transferring to LSU. And then you have Corey Kloss over there at UCLA. A lot of those were homegrown players that, went through, and the six seniors that she had. When you talk about winning a championship at the collegiate level, there's not really a wrong or right way to do it, but how impressed are you that there are many different ways to win a championship?
Yeah, it's funny. This is a great question, and something that I struggle with because I'm old school. I'm an old school coach. I'm a coach where transferring was not a good thing. You had to sit out a year to play again if you did decide to transfer. And even as a head coach, having players transfer out of your program was not a good look on you as a head coach. You wanted to retain your players, obviously, for 4 years, because you know the importance of the growth that happens in over 4 years, taking a player from a freshman to a senior and having that camaraderie, having that chemistry, having that buy-in into your program is very important. So to do that over and over and over every single year, to recruit your own players every single year, I don't know how I could thrive in that landscape. And I don't, I'm very proud to see Gino and Kim Mulkey and Corey Close do it. I'm surprised that they were able to transition to the new way of coaching these young women and having to re-recruit them every year or go into the portal and find new kids. I know coaches who had a mass exodus after this college season. Like every player on their roster has gone into the portal. There are over 100, thousands of people in the portal right now. I just don't get it. I don't know what it is these kids and families are looking for. I don't understand why they're not committed to their own personal growth. It's difficult. It could be difficult for a coach to, to have their system grow and develop. You have 2-3 months to develop your system, and then your season starts, and then whatever happens. So it's difficult for me to fathom. It's difficult for me to see how I could survive in the new landscape of college basketball coaching. And then now with the NIL, now with these players making way more money than you are making as a head coach sometimes, and their personalities and their following and their people that are in their camp wanting them to play more, and now you're getting bashed online. I mean, I can't imagine what it would be like. My husband is coaching. He's an assistant coach at Robert Morris on the women's side right now. And he comes home with these stories. And I'm just like, I'm not listening because I just don't know how I would handle it. So it's uncharted territory. There's good, positive, and negatives, as you stated about it. But I commend, Gino, and I commend Corey, to be honest, to have, like you said, 6 seniors, stick with the program for 4 years, 5 years, and really take that program to its first national championship. that's commendable. A lot of the people that are on Gino's rosters and Dawn rosters are kids who transferred in and were in the portal and kind of hop from program to program to program. I hope that ends. I hope there's some stipulation that's put into place that give you a one-time transfer. I do believe not every place is the best place for you. Maybe a one-time transfer, but to leave every year to find a new opportunity. I just want to know why. I want to ask the kids why, their parents why. They might all have great reasons as to why it works for them. But, I just haven't had that experience. And I just see, like you said, the downfall of coaches having to re-recruit their own players every year or go into the portal and get a whole new roster and start all over again. It's very, very difficult, I think, to be successful as a head coach under those circumstances.
Well, Coach LaFleur, I want to thank you for joining us this morning on the Sports Visions Morning Show, and thank you for waking up with the Sports Visions Morning Show. Listen, I know that we have many, many more conversations to have, but a good buddy, a good mutual friend of mine, Mark Upshaw, to say, hey, look, she will be incredible for your show, and I jumped right on it, and you have been. Looking forward to many more conversations with you, if you don't mind.
Thank you. I'll be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right. Have a great rest of your morning, Coach. Okay?
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Coach LaForest, man, I tell you, I enjoy, man. I tell you, you hear all of those accomplishments and all those accolades and all those coaching stops and wow, impressive indeed. Looking forward to it. We didn't even get into her son's side of it again and raising
Terance, Mann.
Oh my goodness! And we
know about his career
for the Atlanta Hawks in 2025, and of course, doing his thing now up in with the Brooklyn Nets.
With the Brooklyn Nets,
Absolutely. Hey, look, we're going to take our final break of the day.